Mind the gap.
Hello, Fabrizia.
Hi, Hugo.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. Still in the middle of the move.
Your preparations getting crazy, really crazy about that?
Yeah, the mess expands.
Okay.
It just seems to get worse. Anyway, one day the movers will come and it will all go away. So I trust the process.
Great.
That's all I can say. Anyway.
So we had a very nice conversation last week about the topic of mediocrity and what it means to be mediocre, what it means to comparing ourselves to others, what kind of scale should we use to define quality and so on. So is there anything that you would like to add to that conversation, just to take from where we left and progress, because I think there's a lot to be said about that.
Yes, there's so many things. This topic, it's so big. I think we're gonna spend more than a couple of podcasts on it because all the different aspects. But thinking back on how we left off last time about our evaluation of our work and other people's work is totally subjective. It's not objective. It's not an objective evaluation. We cannot say. Well, sometimes you can see that our work is not as good as somebody else's, but sometimes we really don't have the right parameters to do it, and we always feel like we're missing something, we're not good enough. That is just humanly understandable. But there's something else that comes in there, and that can be jealousy. There is an element of jealousy that a lot of people experience, and it's totally dictated by ego in that sense. We want to be out there. We want to be recognized as good. We want to be, we have an idea where we're trying to be. And then when we see someone else in that place, we get these pangs of, some people do, jealousy. Mm. And I know because it used to happen to me a lot. And I realized that in reality, our emotions, are indicators of something inside us. Like I said, everything is totally subjective. So when I started realizing that I was looking at someone doing something or publishing something or being, doing something that I wanted to do, then I was jealous. I was going like, why is he doing this and I'm not? Why are they there and I'm not? Or it's like they took my place my rightful place in the world. Someone else is occupying it. Get off it. It's my place. And there's this kind of toddler reaction to that was mine. You took it, and I know it's not, and people are going to think, well, I'm not like that, but actually there's that twinge that happens, and some people have it worse than others, and some people have learned to deal with it and some people haven't, and some people are constantly under a feeling of jealousy, or maybe they have been hailed and acclaimed. Look at all these pop stars that have fallen into disgrace. They were number one, and then they fall down, and then they keep thinking like, oh, we were so good, but you're not anymore. You should do some work. You never did work that good. And so then they feel like something's been taken away. So either because you never got there or because you got there and lost it. There's many ways to feel this jealousy. But jealousy really is an indicator of something's not all well in the world inside of you. And it stems from ego, of course, but it stems from a lack of from insecurity, personal insecurity about the work you do. So when we realize that, it's much easier to deal with it. And we can also say, okay, this has nothing to do with this other person. Also because there isn't one place in the world. There's place for everybody. Everybody who has anything to say artistically and that is worth anything can have its place in the world. So, the fact that you got there before me doesn't mean that my place is taken or that my road is going to be harder in any way.
Yeah, art is not a zero-sum game.
It's not a zero game. And actually, in some ways, if I see somebody, doing something that is similar to me, and they go and they open the way, when you go on a skiing championship, you always have a couple of guys that are really good skiers, and they just kind of they go down first, kind of open the piste, whatever. So some people go ahead, and it doesn't mean that you can't reach there and overtake them necessarily. If you are better than them, eventually you will. So this jealousy really is a crippling effect, because we feel bad about ourselves, and we feel it's not a constructive feeling. But it is an indicator, and it is useful to pay attention to it.
Yes, but jealousy is a very human feeling, right? And it's really hard to not be jealous. And it's due to what's inside us, of course, but it's really hard to fight at times. And I see people that their reaction to jealousy is to whine, to complain publicly about, oh, that person, that guy was called for that job and I didn't get it, and I deserved that job and he got it instead of me. We're going back to what we said last week about likes and hearts and kudos on social media and so on. Why are those people successful? I'm not. And also in the field of commercial success, why are those people getting gigs, getting paid more than me, and so on? And maybe what's the...
Two things don't go together, because it's like I found out that, people were getting 1 million likes and they weren't making any money.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I sometimes don't get many likes, but I'm making more money with my photographer than most people that with loads and loads of likes. It's my skills on social media are very limited, so I don't publish enough. They publish a lot. They have huge followings and they have tons of likes, which is great because it helps, but it doesn't pay the bills.
No, it doesn't.
And yeah.
But whatever the meter that you use to measure success, it's inevitable that there will be somebody who is more successful than you. And I see a lot this kind of reaction of going public and complaining about that, complaining about the fate that was conspiring against our success and so on. And I don't think that's a very productive way of handling the situation, at least because you end up looking like a loser, somebody who only complains, right? But what would you suggest? What would be the right way to approach this kind of jealousy?
Well, jealousy is a feeling, an emotion. What to do with it is an action. So it's two different things. To put people down so that you can feel better, a lot of people do that. They whine and they put people down and they say, oh, they're not really good or whatever, to make themselves feel better. That comes from jealousy, but that's the action. You don't have to do that. If you, like I said, if you pay attention to your emotions and you understand that this is jealousy, you can then say, okay, what is this saying about me? It's nothing to do with this other person. They're just doing their own thing. They're not aware of you. They don't even know you, right? So you're looking at something who has done you wrong somehow, and they don't know. So it doesn't make sense. Emotions are not logical things. They're not rational things. They're just emotions. They come from all sorts of things. We may feel jealous because we never got a cuddle from our father. Nobody told us we were good enough, or they just said we weren't. All kinds of things that we bring with us from childhood. So the understanding that your jealousies may come from 1,000 different places, and instead of reacting with jealousy and acting against whoever is out there, and thinking instead, why am I jealous and what does it say about me and how do I overcome it? Because really it has no place. It's not constructive, it's not good for me, and it doesn't really change the other person in any way. All it can bring is, unhappiness, basically, because if you're constantly jealous, and it's yourself, like I said, it comes from your insecurity. You're not sure of yourself, therefore you take it out on somebody else. And it's a bit like being jealous of your girlfriend or your boyfriend. You don't trust them because you're insecure about yourself or not thinking you're good enough for them or something, subconsciously. And so you don't trust them, and you think that anyone who might meet them might take them away from you, and what does that say about your maturity in a relationship? Not much. Jealousy is a very immature limbic brain type of emotion. It's just one of those things. So recognizing it and being aware of it is the first step to dealing with it. And the next thing is, we briefly talked about building, and our self-confidence and our self-confidence comes from the work we've done before. Basically, that is our biggest self-confidence kind of powerhouse. But we keep working from a place of, I am missing this, I am missing that, I am lacking this, I'm not there yet, I'm not good enough yet, I have so much to do. My to-do list is, whether it's creatively or in business, we have a to-do list that is a mile long, and we always feel like we're behind. And creatively, I'm not talking about business, which is crazy, but even just as we have a project and it's not good enough, and there's always that thing missing and this other thing missing, and I can't do this and I can't do that, and I have to learn this and I have to learn that, and I got to get better at this and that. And we're constantly working from a place of lack, and that does not help. And that is where jealousy and everything comes in. If we turn around and say, what have I done so far, and look back? That's why I totally believe in journaling and in morning pages, and I think we touched on this before. Have we talked about? I think so. Anyway, everybody buy The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron and read it. At least the first chapter, that's all you need on morning pages. But journaling, writing things down, I can go back and read stuff that I wrote a year ago and realize how much work I've done, how far I've come. 2-3 years ago, my goodness, it's like another person. I've done so much, and everybody has, but we just don't realize. We don't take time to celebrate our little victories. When we do something good, we just go, okay, that was good, okay, let's move on. We don't spend any time really celebrating in a small way. I don't mean throw a party every time you finish a project, but just kind of saying, okay, I've done this, and it's good work. I've done it as best as I can. It's done. It's finished. I close this loop. This is an achievement, right? It's a brick in this thing that I'm building. And we never take time to look back and realize how many things we've done, how many good things we've done, how far we've come, and then build on that. And you're not building from a place of lack then, but you're building from a place of power, empowerment, because you are sitting on your own achievement. Now, these two things don't mean that we don't strive for excellency and we don't strive to get better. We don't have a pull towards the future and better things. And it also doesn't mean that you're sitting on your own achievements and you're good as you are. That's not what I mean. Mm-hmm. What I mean is this internal shift of where you are working from, because one will always stifle you because you always feel less than. And the other one will always empower you because you go like, okay, I've done all this, and now I can do more. This is like the battery that powers my next step. And the next step may be completely out of your comfort zone, but you have like rocket fuel behind you to push you forward. You're not just trying to, hang on to a rope dangling and hoping to make it up there. Big difference in the way you work. God, I talk a lot.
Yeah, you did talk a lot, but it was all great. So I'm sure our listeners will love it. You also already basically answered or touched the topic that I wanted to say next. What I wanted to say is that what looks like maybe an opposite reaction to this state of things, to these jealousies. Sometimes people will say, I know I'm not good enough, but I'm good enough for myself. what I'm creating is good enough. I don't care about getting better. Don't bother me with critics, with telling me you might do things better, because I'm at this stage, and to me, I'm satisfied with this. Which maybe is a mean of, sometimes can be a way of shielding ourselves from the idea that we are not good enough, that we still, that there's a gap. There's still a gap there, I think, but people are trying to cover that gap, hide it from view, and saying, I'm good enough for myself, I don't care what others think. Which,
well, that's
people are paving over the gap.
And the grapes.
Yeah, the sour grapes.
Yeah, it's the fox that goes and sees the grapes, it was the bird and the cheese and all that, all of those things that we learn at school. And you go like, oh, that's really nice, and because you can't reach it, you go, well, I don't like grapes. Yep. It's not really true.
The grapes are sour. That's what
sometimes some of it is temporarily good to protect yourself, because maybe you need time to settle and be at the stage where you're at for a minute to consolidate what you're doing. And then you get the strength to move forward. Again, if you are starting from a place where you're building on what you have. But some people are just plain lazy. They just don't bother, And I know in some things I am like that. Tell me about off-camera flash. I say, I don't like it. Why? Because I want to carry them around. It's not true that I don't like it, because I see most things I don't like, but some things I see, some photos where it's been used and used fantastically well, and I go like, I wish I could do that. I should try and do that. I really want to try and do that, because that would be cool. But basically, I am lazy. I don't want to carry stuff around. I just bought myself a mirrorless. Hey, finally, because the least stuff I carry, the better it is. And I adapt my photography to go with my laziness. And for now, it's okay. But, now this off-camera flash is looming, and it's kind of, I keep seeing things and I'm going like, and I have one. I just, Anyway, what I'm saying is sometimes we are just lazy. We don't want to go out of our comfort zone. We don't want to stretch. It's just, it's not comfortable, and it's easier to stay where you are. Mm-hmm. And, if some people are happy where they are, that's okay. Yep. And after a while, for me, something comes and pokes me in the ribs and says, off camera flash, it's time you pick it up again.
Get off your arse and
get off your arse and carry me around, Find it useful me. Yeah, well.
Another concept, so you said you talked a lot, and I just made some mental notes about the things that I wanted to, that your talking inspired me to think about. And you mentioned this fact of us being the sum total of everything that we did in the past, and we should look at that with acknowledging what we did, and not just throwing it away as something that was immature or not so good. And there's a concept, just because I'm studying Japanese these days, there's a Japanese word that is sabi, which is also part of this two-word combination that is wabi-sabi, which normally is used to denote a number of aesthetic style or a trend in design where people just basically sell overpriced old stuff. But it actually has a very profound meaning. And sabi is this concept of graceful and something persisting through time with grace and dignity, and accumulating patina and this the green oxidation of the Statue of Liberty. I'm just quoting from an article. We'll put a link in the show notes that I read, where gives a very good definition of what wabi-sabi is. And I think both concepts, one is this concept of sabi, which is the passing of time, the embracing of the passing of time and the quality that it confers to objects and to people. And the other one is wabi, which is peace or quiet fulfillment with intentional simplicity, which is, it's really hard to grok, to get. And it originated from the 14th century with the Japanese Buddhist monks that had very simple robes, often worn out and a bit tattered, and they lived in simple housing and so on. And I think that's something that we should try to embrace. Wabi-sabi is a form of quality, because it's appreciated by people in itself. But it's very much the acceptance of what we are, the quiet acceptance of what we are, which doesn't exclude the fact that we always strive to get better, but we should not strive to get better by just saying everything that we've done so far is crap.
Yeah, exactly. It's a concept of embracing your imperfections and making them work for you, which I think deserves a whole other podcast in itself, because it's a big thing, and it's also a powerhouse. When we do that, and yes, there is an element of, and I think every artist. I mean, we say, I don't know anyone who loves any type of art and practices it that does not have some kind of introspection, and it's not possible to produce work without looking inside, looking inwards, and bringing out parts of yourself. Otherwise, you're just mimicking, and it's not really, it's not really making anything that is yours. You're just copying. It's a bit like, there are some great painters, and they're really amazing painters, but what they do is they make replicas of great paintings. They make exact replicas, and you can't tell them apart. Now, what skill do you need to have to make a replica of, the Mona? I'm not saying the Mona Lisa is not actually the best painting in the world, but some painting, the Caravaggios or some of Giotto or some of Raphael or Tiziano, all of those. What skill do you need to have to make an exact replica of that? But these people are, they're, I don't know how to say it. They're like factory workers. They're incredibly skilled, but they don't make art, right? Unless they do it in their own spare time, they do other stuff, maybe. But what I'm saying is, they take hours and hours and days and months to replicate works of art faithfully. The skill is unbelievable, but yet they're not producing anything of themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
So are they artists or not? That's the big question. Right?
They're craftspeople, maybe.
Craftsmen, exactly. Yeah, but they're not creatives. So,
yeah.
Just saying.
That's great. This concept of wabi-sabi means basically that also accepting that fate and fortune are not always in our favor. So if fate and fortune favored, excuse the alliteration, somebody else, we should accept it with dignity and grace, which I know is easier said than done. But yeah, jealousy and especially venting out is not conductive to anything good.
Also because I believe that the universe is abundant, like life is abundant, and there's evidence of that everywhere. If you look at a parking lot, out of concrete, you get flowers. Every little crack, you get something growing. So life will not stop at anything.
Yeah, but there's one thing that you never get out of a parking lot. And that's a free space.
Right.
No, sorry, just kidding.
It's abundant, life is abundant. That's how it works, And so there is enough out there for everybody. And the thing is, when we are giving and generous and open, then we are giving and we are receiving, and we're open to give and we're open to receive. And then this is when we are stingy, and jealousy is a stingy type of, it's all for myself, it's very egocentric, then we are closed to everything, to giving and to receiving. It's a two-way thing. And sometimes we don't get now, because it's not our time. It's not necessarily good for us to get something now. Maybe it's okay for us to get it down the road. And the other thing, third, fourth, I don't know how many points I made, but anyway, it's like people want a magic wand. You want something to happen today. You have an idea, you launch your course, you do your thing, or you do your workshop, or you go to a workshop, you start working, you become a photographer, and you think clients are going to flock to you, and you want your business to succeed within like 3.5 months max. And it takes 15 years, and you look at someone else and they go like, oh, but they do it. How do you do it? Yeah, well, I've been doing this for 30 years. And the people don't understand that things are built, like we said. You build and you build and you build, and things start to roll and grow. Anyway, that's a whole other. Oh God, how many podcast seeds are we planting today?
Maybe one way that just occurred to me, one way to deal with jealousy is, and I'm thinking of what we said in what was that episode 13. About networking and making friends. And I remember saying this mantra, always be giving. Yeah. So it just occurred to me that maybe one way to deal with people who are more successful than us is not to think, what can I get in order to surpass them? But what can I give? And what can I give to those people? Instead of being jealous, say that they have so much that I don't have. But maybe if I come forward and give something to them and think, what can I give to them? Maybe some of that, their success will reflect on me, right? It would be perfectly okay to approach a person that you think is successful and so on, even if you don't think it's totally deserved, and contact them and ask them, what can I do for you? Is there anything I can do for you? That might be turning the things on.
Yeah, or just send them a compliment. Yeah. Sometimes it's just as simple as that. Acknowledge that someone did a good thing. That's fine. It doesn't take anything away from you.
Good.
Good. That's it.
That was another great episode, I think. Right? Anything you would like to add?
No, I've talked enough, I think.
Good. That's fine. Next time I will talk more myself.
That's okay.
If I can get a word in edgewise. No, I'm just kidding. You're great.
So I'd like our readers, listeners, readers as well. Do you transcribe this stuff?
No, I don't transcribe.
Okay. Well, then, listeners, to comment. How do you deal with jealousy? Do you experience jealousy? Let's open this conversation a little bit and see if it's, maybe nobody's jealous. And then we've just done a complete episode for nothing. But I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. Yes, go to our website at closingthegap.live. We have all the episodes up until this. This is episode 15, I believe, if we keep up with the schedule. And each episode has show notes, links to everything that we mentioned today, and comment section, so you can use comments. And there's also a little button at the bottom of the post, which you can just press the button and record your own question or comment in your own voice, and we'll be happy to give it a listen and maybe talk about it in one of the upcoming episodes. Challenge. Speak more than me. Yep.
and see the longest comment you can make.
Great. Bye. I'll see you next week. Maybe you will be on the road with all of your boxes of stuff moving. Not yet, but maybe
another 3 weeks to go.
Great. Okay. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye bye.